Everybody, welcome back to our tasting here at Old North State Winery. We're doing virtual tasting of yet two more delicious wines. We do it every week. For those of you that can't be here in person, of course, on Thursdays at 6 p.m. downtown Mount Airy, we are tasting 4 wines every week. 2 of these will be part of it, and then 2 other wines. So if you want the full gamut, please join us in person. I know you won't regret it. We do enjoy our wines, and we like to talk about our wines. Chef Chris always has delicious food to pair with it as well. That should never get lost in this deal, because that is really what sets it over the top. Sure, we have a good time, but boy, is that food good. Now, Chef Chris is normally with me on these videos, but he can't be here. You're probably going to hear a lot of racket. I am in the barrel room. This is the quietest place I could find. We're in Chef Chris's office. We've had so much going on. Chef tables, bottling is what you'll hear. We're setting up for parties. There's just so much going on. It's a really exciting time here at ONS. We've really hit our stride, and we're just trying to accommodate so many different people with our market, our change in menus, our house-made pizzas. There's just so many things that we continue to add, and it takes a lot of physical effort, a lot of furniture moving, and a lot of banging around. So bear with me. We do not have a studio. This is authentic video here, and of course I never edit. One of these days, when I have like 30 extra hours a week to sit around and edit videos, I'll make a really polished video. I gotta tell you, when we were in Portugal, Chris's wife, Tamisa, took our video to new heights because we were just hanging out in Portugal on vacation, and she put together this amazing video that is actually of, like a YouTube quality instead of our little homemade video here. That I gotta get that one uploaded for y'all to see. She did such a great job. That's what our videos would look like if we had time. But we're more about getting the job done than the bells and whistles. We do not have a recording studio, nor do we have a producer or director or engineer or any of that stuff. Don't even have a boom operator. Well, here we go. Well, I'll quit my whining so we can get to the wine. Boy, do I love this wine. This is something my friend Katie got me from Etruscan Imports. They specialize in Italian wines, also dabble in some Spanish, Romanian, Georgian. I'm down with whatever. French. Their portfolio is huge, but I really love their Italian stuff. And I was just in Verona just a month ago, and I am just kicking myself that I wasn't able to squeeze in just one more town. I drove 1,800 miles. It wasn't like I wasn't hitting all the places, but there's just so many places in Italy, and Soave is one of my all-time favorites, and I missed the boat, so to speak, on the trip out there. So guess what? That means I gotta go back to Italy next year, and Soave will definitely be on my hit list. So Soave, what do we know about it? Well, it's up in the northern part of Italy, the Veneto region. So I was right there at you've got the Valpolicella region. I was also in Lombardy, which wasn't far. There's so many classic regions all around it, but Soave is one of these white grapes that I don't know if it doesn't have the notoriety that it should in our country. I don't know why. I can't figure it out. Soave is such a cool thing to say too. It's not like it's hard to say. It's fun to say. Now the grape might be a little more challenging. Garganega, that is the grape here. We're 100%. And Soave, that's what they do. And so we can rest assured when we see the term Soave on a bottle that it is Garganega. And you don't really see that grape elsewhere in the world, not too much. And so, I love these regions that really specialize in a grape that's nowhere else. I mean, how fun is that? So you're getting a sense of place, right? Well, this is a wine that I've had. I've just loved this. We've served their cab. You're probably familiar with it if you've done any of our tastings. We also sell their cab in our market. If you swing by, you can grab a bottle of that anytime. But this was a big hit with family and friends over last weekend's wedding extravaganza up in Ohio. Flew in, I think I landed at 7 a.m. on Saturday and never stopped moving until, it was over late Sunday night. It was a 2-day event of partying and celebrating Mark and Sandy getting married. I was honored to be there, and I was very pleased to track down some delicious wines for them and to kind of hit their guests' sweet spot. And Dad likes Soave. So, Mr. Simon, that Soave was for you, but of course I had to taste quite a few to make sure they were right. And this is the one that I delivered, and this was very well received at the party. I would say probably the most talked about white there, and not surprisingly so. This is a grape that can be somewhat dainty, maybe not as robust as you might expect or desire rather. I think expectations and wants are probably two different things, but the fact is many times when I'm approaching a Soave, I'm not particularly that jazzed up about it after I drink it. It's more about, hey, I got to try another Soave, but this didn't really trip my trigger rather. So this one surely does. And usually we look to not Chianti Classico, I've got ahead of myself, we're talking about another week. We'll talk about one of those soon, I promise. The Soave Classico region, the older version of the region before it expanded out into what we call now Soave. And that's what Italy does when you have a region that expands, they'll call the older region Classico. And generally speaking, that's where the best Soaves come from, just because they've been doing it longer, but not exclusively the best ones. And I think this is one that really, dollar for dollar, you're gonna have a hard time beating this at the Garganega game, if you will. Now, Garganega is a grape that you generally are not going to oak, but you can do things to enhance its body and texture, and that would be things like lees, aging on the lees. And I think that's an important factor when we talk about some of the higher end expressions, some that have more texture, more rounded, softer acidity comes from that, in my opinion, and longer finish, more complex flavors. And I think that's what we're getting here. This is not what I would consider an entry-level Soave, although it is priced as such. So, what can I say? Big impression on the front. You're going to get lots of tropical fruits with some backbone of citrus and a beautiful minerality that really makes itself present. Honestly, it almost approaches some type of metal or ore, probably, that it really approaches that, but so clean, so crisp, but the flavor just keeps coming. These are the kind of wines that I just adore this time of year. We're in July, we're the dog days of summer, as they say. Knock on wood, it hasn't been terrible, but it's still hot. And there's nothing as refreshing as this. Now, I want to make a side note. It's probably one of the reasons why this wine was so adored at the wedding was because most all the events were outside. And, as it was Ohio, it wasn't terribly hot, but it was warm, and this was perfect for that type of event. So we actually had a smoked turkey that just went brilliantly with this. And if you're one of those people that likes to cook outdoors, as I do often, I went up to visit my mother at her house 2 days ago, I guess it was. And I didn't want to cook anything indoors. I want to have everything outdoors. And when you're cooking outdoors, this is the kind of wine that you can drink while you're cooking and when the meal's ready, because it's going to go with that type of food. It has enough richness and backbone to it to hold up against some of those bigger flavors, and it's going to complement the lighter things that you're going to be enjoying, like cold salads, maybe cold noodle salads, things of that nature, seafood, chilled seafood platters, anything that has a coolness to it. I find that really Garganega goes well with, and anything seafoody. Also, I really like it with poultry. As I alluded to before, this was wonderful with a smoked turkey. Absolutely stunning pairing there. So, I think I probably ate, I don't know, I'm going to say at least a couple pounds of turkey. It was so good. And alongside it was this PD. And there was just something about it, kind of like peanut butter and jelly. It just really worked. There's a little bit of what I would call, there's a little bit of the bottle aging that you might get from a Riesling. There's just a whiff of that, which I really find even more interesting. Not that this wine is old by any means, and it makes me think that maybe over time that this could develop even some more interesting notes. We don't always think about Soave aging. This is a 3.5. It's 2019, so it's 3.5 years old, and it probably spent probably 4 months of lees aging before it was bottled. So it was probably bottled it's probably been bottled, I'm gonna guess 3 years. That's just a wild guess, but an educated guess, so it's not that wild. But I do sense there is some bottle aging here. To the positive, I want to mention a little bit more complexity going on the nose and on the palate. But that's great that a wine that you don't typically think of, you think of, oh, I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna drink it, I'm gonna enjoy it, and that's great because you can do that. But also it's benefiting a little bit as it ages as well. So it's a win-win. You can enjoy it at different versions, different states of its life, and I know people like that. They're very interesting when they're young. They're very interesting, but different as they age, and then there's some people you just want to cut off by the time they hit 20, and you never talk to them again. Those are the bad wines that I'm talking about. But this is a wine that is certainly one of my favorite white wines. I just did a Arnaise, which I would put, up there with the great whites of the world. And it's a northern Italian white varietal. We get down into the south. There's plenty of other whites in southern Italy. But these two, Garganega and Arnaise, really stand out to me in northern Italy, and I think they're must drinks. You must have them, or else. No, just kidding. But I can't wait to get back and explore that region, to really attack that region, because there is a lot of diversity in this expression of this one singular grape. There's regions you go to, and you're really seeing each producer and all the different things they make. Like if you go out to Paso or Napa, they might have 10, 15 different varietals and blends, and that's great. But how about an area that just does one grape, and seeing the differences that one grape can make? So to me, I find that very interesting. Of course, I'm a sommelier and I'm a nerd, so take it for what you will. Chef Chris will have something lovely paired with this. He has not tried this yet, but I know he's gonna like it. He's been really leaning towards sipping on whites lately. It makes me happy. It is just so perfectly weighted. A little, it's not what I would call, it's not like a Sauvignon Blanc that's super acidic, but at the end there's this little burst or release of acidity right at the end. It just makes it so enjoyable. Mouth watering a little bit. Remember, when you're eating, if your mouth's watering, food's gonna taste better. That's a fact. Food always tastes better when you have saliva working in your mouth. And this really activates, and it's not a shocking acidity, it's a sneaky one. It's just a little pop right at the end. That's what I love about reds. They have that little sneaky one at the end that you don't really notice, or unless you're really looking for it like I am. But I'm always trying to pair wines with food, so I'm more sensitive to it. You might not even notice it, but it is there. Perfectly polished, delicious wine. I'm gonna drink a lot of this. I already have. Stefanini, great producer, doing all the right things. I think I couldn't be happier with their portfolio, and we will continue to explore them, and hopefully I'll get to go meet them in person next year. That's my goal. All the wines and wineries that I didn't get to see that I'm selling and introducing to people here, I want to shake hands and look them in the eye and tell them thank you for what you do. Because these type of wines, they really speak of place. They're not a big generic, they're not an industrial complex of soulless beverages. These have character, they have soul, they're important, and they're memorable. And gosh darn it, they make me happy. Let's not forget about that. So, I know you probably get sick of me talking about Italy, but it is delicious. It's a delicious place to eat and drink. All right, so let's go south of the border. And we're gonna go down to Mendoza. This is a collaborative. We've featured their wines before. I've got a new vintage, the 2019. 2019 is our dual vintage here today. And so we are going to get into El Enemigo. This is the enemy within. Really premium packaging here. This is the Cab Franc. They have 3 or 4 different varietals that they offer. I could be underestimating that, at least in the portfolio that I have access to. And I've got customers out there that really love Cab Franc. I really love getting Cab Franc in front of people because it is such an important grape that, for whatever reason, everybody's either Cab or Merlot. You never hear anybody say Cab Franc, or you certainly don't hear enough. Cab Franc is such an elegant wine, it's such a great food wine, and people that I guess are in the know, they know. Bordeaux has this varietal for a reason, and there are people in South America that are so focused on Bordeaux blends, and also South Africa. Bordeaux blends, Cab Franc being a big part of that, and here is a single 100% varietal of it, so you can really get an idea of the grape that are going into all these blends, like Bordeaux or Bordeaux type wines that we've been tasting, certainly at the chef's table from South Africa and South America. And Bordeaux blends will continue to thrive with Cab Franc in them, which I think is important. We've just had so many lately. I know we don't do a lot of videos on Cab Franc or Cab Franc blends. I just really want to get out here, and I was excited about this new vintage. Of course, we have the granddaughter of Catania, who is partnered with one of the great winemakers of Mendoza, actually a mentor, a leader, Alejandro Billo. And this is one for the books. This is one that's becoming legend, I would say. It's going to be etched in history. Chef Chris and I bought so many El Enemigo bottles, I can't even tell you. So it's at least a legend in our palates and hearts. And I just want to share it with you. Very modern version of Cab